and the meditations of my heart be acceptable unto you, my God, my strength, and my Redeemer.
Amen.
You know, lately, all of our scriptures seem to be focused on farms and crops. How many of you are farmers? At one time, at least, huh? A couple of you? Yeah. Okay. Some of us were raised on farms or visited farms when we were young. We went down in Illinois, down to Lamb's Farm, right? And saw the little animals. But most of the people living in Milwaukee, and therefore most of us in the church, have little experience with farming. So the parables that, the stories that Jesus told were aimed at the people around him. And when we read the Bible, we kind of have to do a little double job of translation, right? First, we have to translate from Hebrew or Greek into English. Well, most of us don't do that part. We trust that someone else has translated. But then, we have to understand the point of view of the people that Jesus was talking to. The farmers and the fisher folk of ancient Judea. And that should be easy, right? You just translate it, and then you go ask a farmer. Should be simple. But things are rarely that simple. Rarely. The story may be easy to translate, and the farmer may be able to talk about seeds growing into a big bush. But each and every one of us will have a little bit different take on that story. Even once we've had it translated for us. For instance, we start out with a field that has been taken over by weeds. The favored crop, maybe wheat, is evenly mixed in with grass or with dandelions. Now, what do you do? What do you do? Well, hey, you know, those of us who are urban and suburban homeowners, we know about weeds in the grass, right? Maybe not grass in the wheat, but we know about weeds in the grass. We know about beautiful yellow flowers in our yards. How do you get rid of them? How do you do it? How do you end up with nice, green, lush grass and no weeds? I contend you go talk to my neighbor, don't talk to me, but that's another whole thing. You know, you can't tramp through and try to just pick out the weeds, especially early when the grass has just been planted, right? That doesn't work. You kill them. And you can't spread herbicides to kill the weeds because it kills the grass too. So you leave them alone in the field. You leave them alone until it's time to harvest. And then, at the harvest, you separate them out. You harvest everything and split out the weeds from the wheat. Keeping the crop, keeping the good stuff. You know, well, maybe though, rather than worrying about how we harvest things, let's talk about how the seed is spread. How do you do that? Well, Jesus talked about that too, right? You want to spread the seed. How do you do that? We want to be careful about how we spread it because we don't want to waste any of the seed, right? So you can go out and very carefully put the seed exactly where it needs to go. That's one way to think about it. And if we think about that, we can think about in our world how we waste the seed, how we waste our natural resources, how we waste the food, you know? Or we can think about the different places where the seed might fall when you're sowing it, you know? Some of us, if we think of ourselves as either the crop or the field, some of us have kind of hard shells, don't we? Kind of hard shells. we're kind of difficult to reach. Or maybe we're like the sand, you know? We hear the words, things start to grow, but we got to have water all the time in order for something to grow. Maybe we can think about this parable in terms of the church. In the church, we are called, each and every one of us, to reach out to those who will be fed by our fellowship. Those who will be fed. And we're called to reach out to those who will grow in faith and who will eventually feed others. And when new people walk in, we don't know if they'll ever come back. I saw somebody new here today. I hope he'll come back. And when people come in, needing our support, we don't know if they're going to grow and be able to help others, or if those particular people are going to continue to be people who need support. So we nurture our people. We nurture our people just the same way that the farmer nurtures the crop and the weeds. We nurture everyone because we never know who's going to turn out to be weeds and who's going to turn out to be plants to harvest. And we need to consider the idea of the mustard seed. Mustard seed, that tiny little seed that grows into a huge plant. A plant that's tough, very tough. A plant that produces greens for salad and seeds to spice our food. The tiny seed that produces much. Each of us, each one of us is like a mustard seed. We are a small part of the whole. We can reach out to one other person, and when we do that, that person reaches out, and the next person reaches out, and so on, and the reaching out goes on forever. So we can help by being that mustard seed, that reaching out and producing this huge plant of people. We are like the leaven in the bread. Bread, okay, some of you are going to be surprised here. Bread can indeed be made without yeast. That's how you get tortillas. No yeast in the bread. But when you leaven the bread, it's light and tasty. And just a touch of yeast makes the bread rise. Just a touch of yeast that's left alone that grows into more yeast. And we are like the yeast, growing into more and more. So we got all of these different pictures of ways to grow. And I think what we're called to do is think about us as being the seed, as being the yeast, as being the mustard, and growing and reaching out to others. Be the best harvest we can be. Grow well. Because, my friends, a little bit of love, like a little bit of yeast, will spoil the whole world. A little seed of love will overwhelm the world. And a seed of love among a world of hate will just turn the world on the world's head. So, this week, let's all be seeds. And let's infiltrate the world. Amen?
Amen.
Please join us.